It's time to strip down the short block. I'm going to remove all the accessories that are still attached, take the engine mounts off, the starter, the fuel pump, harmonic balancer, and the pulleys. Let's see, what else do I got? The pivot ball for the Z-bar. I got to take out all of the lifters and put them with the top end rockers and push rods. I'll do that in order so that I got them lined up with their intakes and the exhaust. So I'll do all of that, and then I'm going to flip it over, and well, not flip it over yet. I'll take the oil pan off without completely flipping it over. I don't want any of the oil to drain back underneath into the pistons and the like. So I'll take that off, and then I'll flip it over and remove each of the pistons. All right, I disconnected the heat shield from the block. I'll leave the other side connected so I don't lose any of the fittings. Next thing I'll do is just remove the 9/16 bolts from the back. Come on. Next is the engine mount and the fuel pump. The engine mount, actually, on this one is broken, so I get to replace a set here. They probably need to be replaced anyways. Again, 9/16. And the fuel pump is using a 7/16. Or we'll take a 7/16 inch wrench to remove them. There we go. I'll lay that on the grease bench. One thing I am going to do is reinstall, at least finger tight, all the fasteners so I don't lose track of where they came from and have to play that game. I will restore the fasteners at a later time, but this will make it easier for me to categorize them or catalog them when I'm ready to do that. At the back of the block there are two brackets to help route the spark plug wires. There's one on the passenger side and one on the driver's side. There is one bolt holding each of these two brackets in, and they require a 7/16 inch wrench. The power steering pump, that bracket in the front, is connected to the engine block through the motor mount. So to get that off, again, just take off the 3 bolts here. The other things on this side, we've got get the harmonic balancer off. First I need to remove the pulley that I had to install when I added the power steering option to this car. So this pulley is held on with 3/8 inch bolts, so it's a 9/16 wrench. And then the harmonic balancer is held on with I think it's a 7/16 or is it a 1/2 inch? Anyways, it's a 5/8 wrench to take that off. So I'll remove those, and then I'll use a puller to take the harmonic balancer off. All right, when you're using a puller to remove the harmonic balancer, the threads in the in the harmonic balancer are fine threads. Be very careful when you're putting these in, because fine threads are real easy to cross thread and you'll damage your harmonic balancer. Now, this harmonic balancer may need to be replaced anyways. The rubber between the wheel and the spokes are probably rotted out. But yeah, you don't want to trash anything unless you have to. To get the tappets out, use a magnet. See how easy that is? This is the tappet or the cam follower on the number 2 exhaust, and this is the only tappet that didn't want to come out. It probably is mushroomed a little bit on the other end, so I'm stuck with this one for now. I guess I don't have to worry about it falling out anyways, so I'm just going to leave it in place. But I'm going to take a real close look at that one. Okay, on the oil pan we've got multiple screws, cap screws in here. These on the middles are 7/16 inch heads, and then the ones on the corners are 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch on four spots, I think. Yep, 4 spots. All right, I got the oil pan off. That wasn't too bad. It looks like it's in pretty decent shape. It's not low on oil. I used a bin below just to catch any excess stuff that was inside the engine and not get it all over my floor. One thing I'm noticing here is this is a 2-bolt block. I was expecting a 4-bolt, but I guess it doesn't matter. I'm doing a stock restoration, but that's interesting. Okay, before I go any further, I'll take the oil pump off. But before I go any further, I'm going to stamp on each of the caps the number of the caps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That way, I don't get things mixed up once I do pull the pistons. I want to make sure everything goes back in order. Okay, if you look a little closer, somebody's already been at this. I'm not sure if this is from the factory or if this was something somebody else did, but there's 2. This one, there it is. Somebody's already marked 1. So I don't have to do that. There's a 4. Everything's marked. I'm pretty sure. Let me just check. That should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be 5 or 6 over there. It doesn't look like that one's marked, but 8 is, and all right, I want to make sure everything's marked before I pull it all out. But it looks like there's only 2 that haven't been identified. Okay, so I can't wait. I want to see what the I've already seen it once, but I want to show you. So this is one of the main bearings. Pull this off. My God. That looks great. I don't see any issues with that at all. Here's the bearing. So I don't think I'll have to really touch this crank unless there's something wrong with the rod ends. But the mains, at least the first one, the main looks good. So I'm pretty excited about that. To remove the rod bearing cap, first loosen the cap by hitting it with a rubber hammer, and then on the side, and then use a wooden handle and go underneath the tab here, and then displace it again. You can see it came out a little bit here, and then once that's done, use the wooden end of the hammer, stick it down into the piston, and then drive it down in the cylinder. You use a wooden handle because you don't want to damage any of the metal surfaces. Once you have the cap loose, pull it off. Use 2 hands. Lay it to the side. Actually, it's going to go, yep, that way. And the orientation is stick it off, lay it off to the side. And then stick the hammer in the wooden side and just push it through. And make sure that the screws do not touch the journal bearing. That's a good way of scratching your bearing surface. Once it clears the journal, then you can let it go and then push it through and out. It spun on me. There it goes. Now, as the piston's going through the cylinder, make sure to not drag the bottom of the rod down the cylinder, because you can scratch it. And that's it. And then, so that you don't get the orientation wrong and all twisted around, put your cap back on in the same orientation that came off, and put your screws back on, or your nuts onto the bolts in the same orientation. Next, take the bearing caps off. If you got a pneumatic wrench, use it. Next step in the process is to take the bearing caps off. These are 5/8 inch, the bolts require a 5/8 inch wrench. It's a good idea to use a breaker bar. There's a lot of torque that are into these. If you got a pneumatic wrench, that probably works too, but not always. That one doesn't want to come. Wow. There it goes. All right. That one's a little easier. Before removing your bearing caps, it's a good idea to stamp them. Just so you know that you get them back in the right order. That's number 1. I stamped that. Number 2 should be, yeah, it's harder to see with the throws in the way. There's number 3. You can see it right there. I got 4 on here somewhere. There it is. There's 4. I don't have to do 5 because that's kind of unique. I'm not going to mix that one up. That just makes sure that you get everything back in the same order. Let's do a quick inspection of the bearings to see how these did. Here's the number 1 main bearing. That looks pretty good. Come on, stop focusing on the wrong thing there. So that one's in pretty good shape. Let's keep going. So that's a good bearing surface. Here's the number 1 and 2 rod journal bearings. Ouch. That's not good. That's really bad. Yep, get that journal. That one's going to need to be at least polished. It's probably deeper than that. It's going to probably need to be ground. Here is number 3 and 4 journal bearing, rod journal bearing. That's not too bad. There's a little bit, probably a casting defect. All right, let's take a look at the number, whoops, I forgot the number 2 main. Let's see, get that in there. There's the number 2 main. That doesn't look too bad. All right, number 3 main. Let's see what's underneath the oil here. that looks pretty good. Five and 6 rod bearing. That probably just needs a polishing, but if the one needs to be ground, they're all going to need to be ground, and unfortunately. All right, there is number 4 bearing, main bearing. That one looks pretty good. 7 and 8. Lay them straight. So we got basically one journal that's bad. That's too bad. And there's the rear main. Okay. Pretty good for a 100,000 mile motor. Sorry, engine, for all you perfectionists and out there. Okay, here's the timing chain. I think there's a little looseness to this. Yeah, that's gonna have to be replaced. It's a nylon gear. Chain's got a little bit of movement to it. Okay, that was gonna be on the list anyways. Alrighty. To get the crank out, or sorry, I've already taken the crank out, so I don't need to do that. Cam, basically just in the front, you pull it out. I've already started a little bit, but you gotta just guide it out. There are bearings, cam bearings in the block. You wanna try not to damage those. They'll probably be replaced anyways because I'm gonna hot tank this block. Probably have a magnafluxed as well. Check for cracks. I don't expect any. There it goes. Well, forgot about the fuel pump rod. Didn't take that out. That was stupid. I'll show you what that looks like. Yeah, that interfered a little bit of getting the cam out. All right, right here. There's the fuel pump push rod that runs off the cam. There it is. See that? That rides and it pushes, makes the fuel pump work. Okay, I will turn the block over to get that out. I'll make sure I don't drop it. All right, so I used a magnet to take the lifters out. I was successful on using the magnet on 15 out of the 16 lifters, but this one wouldn't. All right, in the earlier part of my video, I showed you how to take the lifters out with a magnet. This one out of the 15 lifters did not want to come out. It was basically a little bit mushroomed on the end here. And this is the, let's see, this is the number 2 exhaust. So in this case, I'm going to push it from the lifter or the intake valley, and basically just push it out this way. And that's it. So yeah, if you take a look at the edge of this here, see if I can get a good, it's kind of hard to see, but it does have got a bit of a lip to it, or maybe it's just too much buildup. on the edge there. In any case, we'll take that one out. And new cam, new lifters. Just looking at the bearings, the main bearings, they look pretty good. There's a little bit of scuffing, a little bit of wear, but not bad. It's not down into the Babbitt yet. Again, pretty remarkable for a 100,000 mile motor. The thrust bearing looks pretty good. Same thing on this side. Thrust bearing looks pretty good. There's the rear main seal right next to it. These will all be replaced. So I inspected all the cylinders and they all pretty much are the same. There is some scuffing in the bore. I stuck my fingernail across some of them and I did not catch a fingernail with it. It may come out with a hone. So I'm going to try that. The other thing was the ridge at the top, and that was basically just a carbon buildup. So I don't think that there's any ridge there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hone. I'll hone the cylinders with a ball hone or something like that, just to see what comes of it. If necessary, I will do an overbore, but I'd prefer not to. We'll see what we can come up with.